Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io. As you can see me now, and you can see Christian. Christian, you're smiling. Say hello.
Smiling, I'm waving. Obama's there.
Obama's there. Yeah, we discussed this before. Actually, it took us quite some time till we can get at least this amount of cooperation between our system fixed. The issue is for me, I got a laptop with an additional graphics card. So every screen recorder I tried just gave us back crap. And Christian also, he's with the iEmpire. So it makes it even harder to get it work. But we promised you and we made it. The first video startup news here live and direct from Frankfurt and New York.
True.
And everybody who's listening to this, because the audio track of this recording will also be available as audio file on our audio podcast. Guys, you're listening to this. This is as it is intended, but you will get a lot of the sense of the humor and all the stuff looking like Christian looks, like I'm looking. You'll only see this when you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/startup radio. This brings us to the startup news. This time we haven't been together to discuss startup news for quite some time, Christian, right? I do believe last time it was end of June.
Yeah, and now let's do a summer wrap up.
Yes. Those news are intended for everybody who's new to this on YouTube. They are intended as an intention to spark your interest and to provide some context. Most of the time you'll find links to websites or blogs which can give you more in-depth information as long as you can work with automatic translation or speak German. This is always when I talk about the show notes, and you'll see down here, if you're listening to this on audio, there will be a link. If you're listening to this on YouTube or watching us, there'll be a link down here. It says show notes, and this is where you find all the links. Why we do them this way, the news here are intended as a wrap-up. We give you more detailed insights in our interviews, and there is an audio-only version as well, which is intended for your daily commute. If you are interested in a specific startup or area, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach Christian at chris@startuprad.io and me as joe@startuprad.io. Our sponsoring message, Startups.observer, supports this program. Startups Observer is like online dating for startups and investors. It is by far the easiest and most efficient way to research potential investment candidates or look for potential investors. Learn more at Learn more at startups.observer. Right. Ecosystem.
Yes.
Here we go. We are in the news. Christian.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to take over, even though it's in Frankfurt and on your home turf. But so for the people who are watching this, it will always be us looking down because there we have our little script. But we found out about a first that happened in Germany, because for the first time, a German fintech listed successfully on a stock exchange. It's the Frankfurt-based fintech Credit Shelf, who listed at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And it's the first IPO of a pure play fintech in Germany. They raised around 16.5 million euros, which is close to $20 million. And we also have an exclusive interview for them, with them for you. The recording is done and it will be published sometime in mid-October.
Yes, actually, they have a very nice office in the Bahnhofs area, which is now the fancy place to be if you are a startup. Yeah, it's very nice. And we recorded this interview in a meeting room. And when I twisted my camera just a little bit, and there would be the entrance of an aero center, also called a brothel. I do believe in English.
It's like
and it's where red light district and fancy new areas meet. It's very nice, and I do believe The more questionable parts will be gone soon. Okay, sorry.
Frankfurt will be so gentrified. Yeah, the other thing is I was in Los Angeles recently, and for the first time there, because we don't have it here in New York, for the first time there, I really saw a couple of those e-scooters, and I saw Lime and Bird, I think, are there. And so it's definitely a hype going on right now around the scooters. But there's also bad news for them already, because we have seen fatal e-scooter accidents. I think twice in a couple of months now. And California has now legalized riding on those little scooters without a helmet. Wrote the Washington Post. We have a little link there in our show notes. But I mean, in general, it was just crazy how many kids I also saw on these, even though supposedly they are just for people 18 and above. But it's not working like that, at least not in LA.
Irrational Exuberance Revisited. Is crypto the new dot-com bubble? Is asking Cointelegraph. Ultimately, whether digital assets are a bubble or not is no more than a debate over terminology. Even within the crypto community, it is clear to the majority that the present-day tangible output that blockchain-based ventures can offer lags far behind the figures observed at the home page of coinmarketcap.com. It is clear that these two values will have to realign at some point, similar to how it eventually unfolded with internet companies. And that all was a quote from the article. Strongly, strongly recommended.
Yes. VentureBeat came up with a study that gave us an overview of their IPOs so far, and surprisingly enough, Europe is ahead. So far, we've seen 27 IPOs totaling $32.5 billion in Europe versus only half of this, 14 IPOs in the US, which are totaling $25 billion. So the value per IPO is a bit higher in the US, but still Europe is ahead.
We talk a lot about Pro7 Sat.1, meaning Pro7 Sat.1. It's a German TV giant located in the south of Germany in Munich. We talk a lot about them in the news because they are very active in the startup space. Now, Bloomberg also writes about them as well because they are entering the US market. They are titling, "Now a German broadcaster wants a slice of the US startup pie."
I like that you translated this as if that explains anything. Like Pro7 Sat.1, which translates to Pro Sat.1. It's good. There was also an interview with Warren Buffett who talked about Bitcoin, and he said he's also very critical about it. And he said Bitcoin is an asset that creates nothing. It was on CNBC, and if you want to get more information about that, we also have it in the show notes. And we come to our monthly part where we talk about food boxes and food preparation startups.
Yeah, it's becoming irregular as well, right?
Yeah, just like Rocket Internet, because we found
we have Rocket Internet down there. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine.
So HelloFresh and Blue Apron might get some bad news, and Rewe and Edeka, which are two of the biggest grocery store chains in Germany, might come up with better news because on KYMA, there is an article about why grocery stores will win the meal kit wars.
And there's an overview.
I now changed to a new player called. Oh, you see, I forgot the name. That's good for them. But it's a food kit that only sends you vegan stuff. And the good thing about it is that it doesn't send you like a tiny little 2 slices of onion or whatever, because you just get actual servings of things, and then you can match with some sauces that they put in there. And it feels much more like something you would buy in a store, only healthier. I really like them.
That is pretty cool. We talk about e-commerce a lot, and there was a recent study. Amazon and eBay account for 2/3 of German e-commerce. That is not too surprising to everybody here, and it paints a little bit weak picture of German e-commerce market. But on the other hand, related to that, Amazon's share of the US e-commerce market is now 49%. or 5% of all retail spending, is an article we found in T3N. And related, this is the end of a 70-year era. Otto, we also talk about them a lot, a former catalog retailer, now aspiring e-commerce giant, is stopping the catalog production published twice a year. They contain fashion to furniture and the likes of Claudia Schiffer. Somehow related, Amazon's Pride Day has Black Friday halo effect on other retailers, which is also pretty surprising. And finally, this is Amazon everybody should have feared, and it has nothing to do with retail business rights recode. I do two more and then we're good. Startups in Germany get 2.2 billion euros venture capital investment in the first half, or H1 2018, reports EY Germany. I am a partner and member of Rheinmain VC, and I can tell you within this time 70 million of this money has been raised by startups here in Frankfurt Rhine-Main. There'll be more in the future, so stay tuned. And this was really fascinating for me. You know, I'm an economist by training. Online games like MMOs learn the same lessons as economists on their currency. So apparently, even if you are a game, you have to adhere to the logic of usual economists when they talk about money. Whew, that was it. Christian, your turn.
Time for some housekeeping and some bragging, because Startuprad.io made it into the top 100 podcast download charts in 2018 in Germany, the UK, USA, and Canada. I mean, thanks, I guess. So also we have more than 12 new videos on our YouTube channel, which you can have a look at youtube.com/startupradio. Just one example is here, that we talked about frequent mistakes in corporate innovation and how 1789 Innovations tries to help. It's also from Rhein-Main Startups. And we have new podcast interviews as well, for example, with Jam, Just Add Music, which is a hidden champion, you could say, of the Berlin startup scene. They exclusively talk about their intention to raise venture capital, and we talk why Deezer, Spotify, and other streaming services are lacking differentiation.
Stories related to our coverage in the past. European healthcare goes XR, virtual, augmented, and mixed reality, writes Tech EU. We talked to one of those startups more than 1 year ago. You will find a link down here in the show notes. And approximately 1 year ago, Startuprad.io talked to Automotive, the then newly founded all-digital health insurer. Now numbers are published and they reached only their minimum goal. You can find the podcast here. And to boost Germany's lagging startup sector, Incubator connects founders to the US market, writes Crunch-based news. They are referring to the German accelerator. Who follows our regular news already knows those guys. And I have been there in New York back in May and talked to some of the startups. By the way, one of them has just been published yesterday on our Startuprad.io YouTube channel. And today, by the way, is the 28th of September. So we got all the news before. And then, for everybody who doesn't know, Germany was decentralized for centuries, and it still shows. Have a look at less well-known hubs, Christian.
Yeah, so I mean, so often we talk about Berlin, and Berlin obviously has now of being the startup mecca, or whatever mecca actually, in Germany. But we like to take a look at other cities. For example, Stralsund, I don't know if you pronounce it in some different way in English. So Stralsund, it's a coastal town. And there, for example, we see that the medical technology startup GWA Hygiene raised 2.5 million euros in funding. So good for them. And then to your hometown.
Yeah, home turf, Frankfurt. Coin analysts pre-ICO ends earlier through cooperation with Ring. And we also do have an exclusive interview of Gareth and me interviewing Pascal, who is the founder and CEO of the startup Coin Analyst. Rhein-Main Frankfurt-based Merck, also big sponsor of mine, disclaimer, leads venture capital investment in Mosa meat, which produces meat directly grown out of cells in laboratory. And
that's also one of the markets that really see a lot of competition right now. It's interesting that there's also a German competitor in there, because I recently ate a burger here with I think it's called the Impossible Burger, and it's one that's actually eating but it's totally plant-based. It's really weird. As a vegetarian, I can confirm it's really weird.
Great.
Anyway,
Frankfurt-based government-backed KfW, Kreditanstalt für Wiederaufbau, and the Frankfurt-based Fintech Crowddesk start a pilot program for municipal crowdfunding. Also, the Frankfurt-based PropTech Thing It raises 7 digits venture capital, writes Schwarzwald Communications, a very nice. PropTech is everything related to property and, for example, even everything related to from technology for elevators till, let's say, administrating of rental buildings, of apartments, of something, that all fits into PropTech. And sometimes they actually are seen as part of fintech, usually through the administrative arm, like managing assets, managing property, what they are doing. Also, Germany's green tech capital, also based here in Frankfurt, is investing in Kenyan startup Bismart. And Commerzbank, oh, sad story. Commerzbank used to be the second largest bank here in Germany. They still are, but they have to leave DAX, the German index, like the Dow Jones of Germany, and they're gonna be replaced by Wirecard. There were also some additional bad news. They want to build European competitors for online banks like N26 or GetPenta. Now they stopped their so-called Project Copernicus, writes Gründerszene. Frankfurt-based Main Incubator, by the way, the VC arm of before mentioned Commerzbank, invests in Darmstadt-based Authada, 7 digits. Authada, I have to admit, is a pretty cool startup, because there is a new national ID. It's called Bundespersonalausweis here in Germany, and it has chips and RFID functions. And what Authada does is actually you can hold your passport, your national ID, to the cell phone, and it says, okay, that's everything you need to do to open, for example, an account. Ouch. Frankfurt-based SafeDroid gets a bad coverage in Gründerszene. They talk about many ideas of penis pictures and high-pressure work environment, which made half of the team leave, and outstanding over-hours compensation. Keep in mind, we had the world premiere with the SafeDroid guys, and I do believe raising 35 million doesn't go without leaving any dots or dents within the startup, because they've been really working hard. Deutsche Bank pushes digital with a second fintech deal this year, like writes Bloomberg Quint. And Munich-based e-scooter, here we are again at the e-scooter startup, Golf plans to raise 90 million in their IPO at Prime Standard segment of Frankfurt Stock Exchange. So that's why it is here. And we have Heidelberg's InsurTech GetSafe surprised by selling their profitable insurance broker business. They want to focus exclusively on their digital insurance products. And finally, I already talked about it, German fintech Wirecard to push Commerzbank out of DAX 30, and DAX 30 are the 30 largest companies in Germany which are listed on the German stock exchange, measured by market capitalization. So that means a company also can get kicked out when there's not enough free float, or when the market value goes too low.
I looked at Cologne, and DeepL, which is a Cologne-based startup for translation, got some good news. They made a profit of 1.3 million euros, And good for them, because the total loss since inception has been approximately 450,000. So they should be probably in the black. Then there's Spark Capital, known as one of Twitter's investors, and they joined the 12 million euro venture capital investment round of Cologne and London-based startup Homelike. Homelike is a marketplace for business apartments, so a bit in the same spot as Airbnb, but for business. And I just go on with Hamburg as well, because in Hamburg, for example, we see that there is a 300 million funding, which turns the fashion shop About You into a unicorn. And congratulations to that. We have Finanzcheck.de, Finance Check, a comparison portal for financial services, which was sold for almost 300 million euros to the Scout24 group, which is one of the biggest service websites groups, you could say, probably in Germany. They're listed in the m-dax, which is like the smaller, not really smaller companies in Germany, but they are not
medium size
medium size. Yeah, there you go. So they are not in the 30 biggest, but one below that. And so there's Scout24. It's Germany's second largest fintech exit after 360,000 transactions worth approximately 750 million US dollars.
It's 360T, the FX trading platform. Yeah, I know the startup names, right?
Oh, now okay, sorry, I didn't get that. Anyway.
Don't worry.
Hamburg-based fintech Naga Group, they got a bad reputation from Finanzszene.de since their ICO was not for themselves, but for a company which will provide services to Naga. The money actually went to Naga Development Association, NDEL, which is domiciled in Belize.
Domiciled, sorry, typo.
Okay, which is in Belize. So yeah, it sounds like Naga Development Association, sounds like something from Belize. Anyway, Hamburg-based fintech Deposit Solution, they raised 100 million US dollars venture capital and are now valued at $500 million. Therefore, more about that you can read at Startuprad.io. And we have SoftBank, which acts as a lead investor in 10 million US dollar venture capital round of the Hamburg-based soccer startup B Pro. Other investors there are Altos Ventures and Korea Telecom. And we also have a person, you can say. He used to be a manager at Tesla, and then he led the German energy startup Sonnen to international success. And now he has his own fintech startup, Cap Insight, a network where members can search for investment opportunities.
The gentleman is called Philipp Schröder.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, and we have a little link to a portrait about him in the show notes as well. Back to you.
Munich-based robo-advisor Liquid raises staggering 33 million euro venture capital from existing investors in a Series C, but you gotta admit they are backed by the Quant family, which is also known for being a billionaire family and owning, for example, majority stakes in BMW. Insurance giant, or better said, reinsurance giant Munich Re buys IoT startup Relayer for 300 million euros. Whoa. Relayer develops IoT tools like hardware kits, Wunderbar, and in the past they already raised more than 100 million euros in venture capital. Pro7sat.1, here we go again, exits its share in food supplement shop Vatify. Venture stars and founders buy back, reports Deutsche Startups.de. This is big news since PS1 originally wanted to take over the company next year. Now they decide to leave it alone. Emirates subsidiary Dinata buys German TV giant Pro7sat.1 their travel service Tropo, reports Deutsche Startups. Alasco just started, but Deutsche Startups.de reports there was already a bidding war going on for their first venture capital investment. Two investment partners Holzbrink Ventures and Picus Capital, backed by Alexander Zamba, made it. Valuation 13 million euros, and Scout24 had better results than expected. They are looking at headline growth of 11.5% to 13.5% for 2018, writes Kundenszene, and they are headquartered in Munich. And finally, Munich-based startup Blickfeld develops LiDAR. I've been told this is something like radar, but only with light. Sensors for autonomous vehicles. Now they raise 8.5 million euros venture capital. Investors include Hightech Gründerfonds, HTGF, Fluxunit, Osram Unit, NTV Investments, and Unternehmertum VC. Puh.
Going to Stuttgart, there we have Börse Stuttgart, so the Stuttgart Stock Exchange, which is the second largest one in Germany, and having a reputation for probably trying to be more innovative. They are launching a full-fledged trading venue for cryptocurrencies and initial coin offerings, so trying new things there. And in Düsseldorf, the German fintech Aux Money is eyeing an IPO, reports Reuters. The credit platform broke even, according to their own statement, in the fourth quarter of 2017. So things might be looking well there. That's it with the cities, with the hubs.
Now we go into the companies. German VC Digital and Partners raised a 350 million fund to back B2B tech scale-ups in the DACH region, which is meaning Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the tiny little bit of Liechtenstein. Philipp Lahm, German soccer player and captain of the World Cup winning German team 2014, is also a big investor in startups. Deutsche Startups compiled a list of his investments, including ta-da! A 1917 founded organic food producer. Which is pretty interesting, right?
Yeah. I mean, now he's pretty happy because he got the European Championships to Germany yesterday. So that's the last thing I saw of Philipp Lahm. But then we also have Flixbus, which is a competitor or tries to compete at some of the train parts where Deutsche Bahn usually works, and tries to connect a couple of German cities there, but they are biggest with buses and have built a rare German unicorn with that. They are even offering services in California, for example, now. And Deutsche Startup unveiled a list of their investments in other startups, for example, Compredict, Everskill, Grillido, Lanes and Planes, Metals Hub, Nyris, Zender.
I love that you didn't stumble over one of those names, but I think startup names are just meant to be stumbled over.
And they had all the vowels in there, so it's really good for them.
Founders of Delivery Hero and AutoOne invest in platform Schedule, which offers organization of appointments and accounting for hairdressers, pediatrician, and spas, together with VC target global $5 million, writes Kundenszene. Here's to the Adidas fortune and Startup 300 invest in Graz, which is an Austria-based startup Venussel. Venussel plans and coordinates sports activities to motivate people to engage more in sports. Whew, that was a tough name.
Bala Ventures from Peter Thiel. Creandum and Red Alpine invested US dollars. 11.4 million euro venture capital in TaxFix, a tax startup which helps with the online filing of German taxes. In the automotive sector, we see that Six left the car sharing venture Drive Now with BMW this year, and now they want to invest 100 million euro in new mobility services over the next 5 years, and they called it Project 1, Project 1. And Volkswagen gets really serious about tech deals with We Digital, which is their arm where they look into autonomous vehicles. And we had our meal kit section, so obviously we also need our mattress section.
You love your Casper, you just have to tell it again.
Yeah.
This, by the way, this broadcast is not sponsored by Casper.
No, but I mean, I'm pretty open to it.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, we are looking also at stories about the end of the mattress hype already, because Berlin-based Moon had to file for insolvency. which writes Deutsche Startups writes more about that. And also Gründerszene did a survey of the German mattress startups, since some publications already announced the end of the hype, and the startups are still seeing the market developing, and no end to that. So one even spends 1 million on TV ads. So the news we get from this sector are kind of all over the place. So we will see what happens to the people sleeping.
Fintech, yeah, the people who are awake. BBVA and ABN AMRO invest 57 million euros venture capital in Berlin-based Solaris Bank. Now they publish their annual results and generated approximately 2 million euros in revenue. This is for a 225 million euro post-money company. I don't think that's a lot. Finanzszene.de calculates the number of customers which really have their primary bank account with height N26, number 26. N26 claims 1 million customers, but FZ, Finanzszene.de, calculates only 250 to 300,000 have their primary account with Berlin-based Fintech.
I mean, that is something that already this discussion follows them from their start, that they are confronted with these claims that they are blowing up their numbers. But I mean, also in the end, you could wonder, what does it matter if it's the primary account or not? So,
yes, and once again, transatlantic relations. US insurtech Lemonade sues German competitor WeFox. Now they seem to have reached an out-of-court settlement. Lemonade will withdraw the lawsuit as soon as WeFox makes some changes. We are still unclear what kind of changes they are. The Fintech Deposit Solutions, a platform for fixed deposits, and the comparison portal and Check24 cooperate. According to Finanzszene, parts of the investment service of Check24 is white-labeled from Deposit Solution. This is surprising since Check24 originally want to take market share away from fintechs. Now they are cooperating. Autobird, the Berlin-based cashier system startup, stopped expansion. They have generated 9 million euros revenue and 8.8 million euros losses, according to their 2016-17 balance sheet. The edtech startup Adjust hires former JP Morgan investment banker Mirko Denek as CFO, reports Gründerszene. They speculate immediately if this is a sign of a future IPO. Oh. Chris, you want to take over?
We looked into online commerce, and Deutsche Startups uncovered another hidden champion, their Autodog, which flew under the radar with unicorn deals like Auto1, which is like the biggest German auto deal website or auto selling website, but also Autodog. They make more than 215 million euros in revenue, and which is also good for them. Two of the investors in the German version of Shark Tank, called Die Höhle der Löwen, so the Lion's Den, invested in the popcorn producing startup Popcorn Loop, and now the startups ends in insolvency, unfortunately, too. The Berlin-based cleaning startup Book a Tiger is working on a strategic realignment. We have a look at that. And Deutsche Startups also calculated the return on investment from the IPO of Windeln.de, Diapers.de. Unfortunately, 10,000 euros would now only be worth 533 euros. Their revenue went down. China activities are not performing as expected, so not that good news there, which leads us to the not that good news of Rocket Internet.
Well, a Rocket Internet Corner is kind of a tradition since you joined the startup news, Christian. You remember it was like 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
There
wasn't Trump back then.
But sorry?
There wasn't even Trump back then.
Yeah, well, he was there. He's 70, but nobody thought about him as president. West Wing, Rocket Internet's online furniture store, is going for an IPO targeting more than 150 million US dollars or 147 million euros, writes Gründerszene. Rocket Internet turns to US with major new fund, writes Bloomberg Quint, and Rocket Internet has the next 5 big startups fixed. Instafreight, a platform for tracking capacity, Caterwings, catering platform for corporate customers, Spotcap, SME credit platform, Pflegetiger, a platform for medical and household helpers, and Expert Lead, an e-recruiter for freelance techies. Meal kits are offered over the market all over. Delivery Hero enters the ring and wants to attack fellow Rocket Internet-backed HelloFresh. Delivery Hero also thinks about expanding into other services, writes a large German newspaper called Süddeutsche Zeitung. We have a little bit more data about West Wing, but we can skip that. And the sad part of the news, Christian.
Yeah, there's the outdoor advertising specialist Ströer. They bought Style Fruits in 2016, profitable at that time, but now a 14 million euros deal turned into a disaster for Ströer, and they now pulled the plug. Also, sad news from fast food chain Noon Mediterranean, founded by two German entrepreneurs. They had to file for insolvency. Two founders had to leave the company. allyouneed.com, the online marketplace of DHL Deutsche Post, is about to end its services. For 8 years, DHL tried to set up its own marketplace, first under the name Mein Paket, My Package, later branded to All You Need, but now it's closing. And unfortunately, the Munich-based used car marketplace Carzada disappeared, reports Deutsche Startups exclusively. Founders are already working at new companies again, and their platform raised high 6 digits in 2016. Now this is over too. Last segment, all other news.
Yes, we talked about them. Flixbus fights for market share in California motor coach market, writes NGIN Mobility. Christian works for them from time to time. They start with low prices, and after they started in the States in May this year. Berlin-based sports startup FanMiles, we just talked about them, is being sold and cooperates now with Miles & More. FanMiles has among its investors World Cup winner Philipp Lahm and sports marketers, and it also had to take a hit in its last VC round valuation. Deutsche Startups checks out the numbers of the Movinga story. We talked about them quite extensively in the past. They just published their 2016 numbers, 36.9 million euro loss. This is not surprising since the company really had to work hard for a turnaround. This may be one of the largest advertisement battles in recent history in Germany. Foodora and Lieferando, both are in the restaurant delivery business, spent more than 170 million euros on advertisement last year, reports Welt, also a large newspaper in Germany. And the last one, Deutsche Bahn, German rail operator, takes over a majority stake in Berlin-based e-mobility startup Clever Shuttle. And we are really sorry for everybody who could not get in the news. This was already really long, our show.
Honestly, though, if you couldn't get in the news this time, you're probably never gonna make it. This was really long.
Yes, for everybody who is wondering, we are writing this up front, and what you listen to spread over 9 pages. So guys, remember, sharing is caring, and hopefully see you back very soon, approximately in a month, when Christian and I get together again, and Christian will have another awesome sound in the background, right?
Yeah, a lot of honking today. I don't know why.
Yeah, and there are no sirens. Why there are no sirens? Huh?
Yeah, people should just go home. It's Friday. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, see you guys. Go home, enjoy your time, and if you have more questions, anything, just reach out to us, Chris@Startuprad.io or Joe@Startuprad.io. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye, guys.
Tschüss.
Tschüss. Auf Wiedersehen.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.